Happy International Women's Day, everyone. This year's theme is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. My name is Ana Lantigua, and I am the Global ISV Manager here at Aprimo, joined today by my co-host, Noah Horborg, our resident marketing specialist. And today we're joined by one of our woman champion leaders here at Aprimo, our VP of Sales, Leanne Fleck. Hi, Leanne. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Leanne, can you give some background as to your progression within Aprimo and how long you've been working here and some of your day-to-day job duties?
Sure. I am actually going into year 3, just started year 3 at Aprimo. I've predominantly been in the sales organization in the time that I've been here. I started out as a business development executive, which is now known as our sales executive role, and worked my way through to running the East in the Americas region, and now running the entire Americas region. So again, 3 years based in the Chicago office, and my home is in Chicago.
That's wonderful, Leanne. That's quite a progression in 3 years as well. So Leanne, what went into your decision to go into software as a service and into the tech industry as a whole?
Yeah, I would say that this particular role chose me. I didn't necessarily choose it. I graduated in a really tough job market from college and happened upon a job working in claims management and workers' compensation systems. So at the end of the day, not really having a clue what I was getting into, in all honesty, I went ahead and gave it a whirl. And 20 so many years later, here I am.
That's awesome. So that's funny. So if you hadn't really chosen the tech industry, was there someone throughout your journey that really inspired you to, stay in this industry and honestly end up thriving really in it?
I think my inspiration comes more from the people that I talk to and meet with on a daily basis. My coworkers have notoriously been the biggest influence on what I do and how I do it and the values by which I live by. And I also see that in a lot of the customer, and because I've always been customer facing in every role I've ever had, I see how women on that side of the aisle also go ahead and manage their life and their balance. And, I kind of take more role model out of them. I think Sheryl Sandberg did a really great book, Lean In, a couple of years ago, which was really interesting. I don't necessarily agree with 100% of it, but it's definitely a different take. And being a woman in tech is definitely unusual. And then you add sales to that, which is also predominantly male. It also has even more nuances in that direction.
Yeah, Leanne, that touches perfectly on this next question. Sales is notoriously one of the hardest areas of business to break into as a woman and excel within, just through the stats alone that are rampant around sales. So what challenges have you faced as a woman within sales?
I think from a challenges perspective, not necessarily in sales, I think one of the most disappointing things that I've experienced is that other women, a lot from a competitive nature, can make it very, very difficult. And, not in the spirit of seeing it succeed. One of the nicest things that I have is, especially here, Robert is always trying to lift me up and help me do better and give me a lot of great advice. I've been on the flip side of that in my career, stomped on and, in a lot of ways to kind of hold me down or keep me back from a lot of things that I could have done. So I just wish that there was more of a spirit of camaraderie within our own sex, honestly, in a lot of ways. And it wouldn't hold me back so much. Fortunately, that was more at the beginning of my career and not so much in the middle to where I am today.
And Leanne, I know you mentioned Robert, our SVP of sales, as really championing some of your progress here at Aprimo as well. Can you point towards some mentors throughout your job progression that have really inspired you to become the leader you are today within Aprimo?
Sure, absolutely. I worked for a COO at Corporate Systems, which was the first job I had out of college. I was there for 7 years, and his name was John Champlin. He was instrumental in really helping me not only understand my personal goals and aspirations, but teaching me kind of how the real world worked. He's definitely someone I would have as a mentor in my list. I also had a woman named Judy Mendola. I remember all these people like it was yesterday, and it was quite some time ago. Reflecting back, but she sat there and showed me the ropes and was literally with me until I left that organization 22 years ago, or 20 up until 3 years ago when I left to come to Aprimo. So at the end of the day, those are people that kind of guided me and took my hand through the whole process. And there's still people I could reach out to today. When I moved over to Near North, the CEO of that company, the president, he was a brilliant man. And that, really taught me more of the technological side of things to kind of supplement all of the customer facing, client facing knowledge that I needed in my life. So yeah, through the course of my career, I've been very, very blessed. It's probably the sole reason I've, knock on wood, done so well in my career by my standards.
Wow, it's nice to hear that, kind of, it's a bummer on one hand that, there's been some woman on woman crime here, right? In not being so supportive, but it's also nice on the other hand to hear that men have been such a support for you as well, especially leading you through and championing you through to help be successful. So I guess besides solving for that woman on woman crime, and obviously there's so many other things to solve for in, the route to gender equality, if you had to choose one thing to solve for today, what would you choose?
I personally wish I was fortunate enough, and I think so much of sales, and I think so much of, just the confidence it gave me over my career. I mean, I was extraordinarily shy as a kid, and I think most people who know me today would be surprised by that, but it has given me enormous confidence in my adult life. And I wish more women, especially at, the teen age, would get more exposure to sales. I was fortunate that I had a father who was in sales and could kind of say to me, this is a really interesting place to be. It allows you to kind of, work within the confines of how you want to work and really apply your ethics and your standards to it. And it's a team, but it's also an individual performance. And it's something that I never heard through my college years, through any of my mentors, honestly. In those early days, it was really my dad saying, you might want to give this a shot. It's really different than everything else that you've been kind of attuned to your whole life when it comes to education. And he was right. And I wish more women got exposed to it at a younger age of what the benefits and advantages of sales are, and having that confidence, because I do think it makes such a difference, not only in my, work life, but also my personal life.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, definitely increasing exposure, showing women, hey, you can be in this industry even if it's not so popular right now, or this might help you get confident. I mean, that's really incredible that you found that through your dad. That's really lucky.
Yeah.
Leanne, what progress have you seen on gender equality throughout your job progression, throughout your life?
Yeah, I think it's gotten notoriously better. I would love to see, I think the big catchphrase you see today is I would love to see more people who look like me doing this job. And, I think that's where we aspire to be. But I think, I see a lot of opportunity out there. I see if you get a seat at the table to be heard, to be understood, I think that's really changed a lot in, the 25 years I've been working. I think it's very, very different than when I first got out of college, but there's also a maturity that comes with it. That's not even just gender equality. It's understanding when to be silent. It's understanding when to listen, so that you do have more credibility when you speak. And I think that's really important to keep in mind as well. But I just think it's getting better. There's more people in a room who look like me.
So you did just mention, it's so important to be heard. What advice would you give women, young women out there when it comes to guaranteeing respect and that your voice is heard? What are some tactics that you use to really get that?
Especially in like what you mentioned earlier of just the importance of finding your voice. Sounds like a progress since you were quite shy growing up that you've really grown into yourself as well.
Yeah, I think, it's the art of listening in this day and age is so lost. If you can just take a step back and really hear for a couple minutes what people are saying, I think, I consider it more of a maturity thing. I think at 20 something, I thought I was going to die on the hill for every battle I fought. And it was every battle. It was never, partial. It was always everything. And I think the reality is, as you get older, you understand that that's not realistic, and nobody wants that person, all the time, 24/7. And I think it's more impactful when you pick what matters most, and it's more realistic, because the business world isn't going to be a win every time. And I think the sooner that you can assimilate to that in, life and the realities of it, I think the better off you'll be, and you can kind of tune into those things. But listening is really a lost art.
Finding the art of the compromise, when to stand, when it needs to be stand, and when to understand when to listen as well.
Absolutely. And in sales, I didn't really mention it earlier, but the art of negotiation, that's a life skill. That's not just a work skill.
Oh, I love that topic, Leanne, because actually one of the women that was most impactful in my life was my sales professor in university. And negotiation is something that is a hot topic within gender equality as well. So when young women are, first going into their first jobs, what are some pointers you would give them around negotiation?
I think knowledge is power, right? So I always tell everybody that, and it's that way, whether it's the best topic or the worst topic, salary negotiations or health issues, and knowledge is power. So really understanding to the best of your ability, and sometimes as you get older, you get better at that knowledge gathering, but really understanding what you're walking into, what's comparable. Realizing, what your best case scenario is, what your worst case scenario is, and that you're going to land somewhere in the middle, I think is the reality check that everyone needs when it comes to negotiation. And, walking in with eyes wide open, the catch to that, and what gets better, the more you do it and the more you test that skill, is the ability to think on your feet. And that's when you really get good at it.
Yeah. Well, that actually kind of leads into one of our other questions. When you negotiate kind of a life and work balance, is there some advice that you would give women out there that have to juggle home and work, and how they can, come to their work and their bosses and really ask for what they need and also be reasonable within that?
Again, I've been very fortunate in my career to not have to struggle there a whole lot. But at the end of the day, honesty is the best policy. As somebody who works with people and employs people on my team, and has that sense of camaraderie and teamwork, I want everyone to feel 100% every day. If you're not getting what you need, open communication is the best way to go about it. There's nothing worse as a manager, or even as the person who's trying to get that message to your employer. If you need a break, when it comes out in one big fell swoop because it's overwhelming at the time, it's much, much harder to manage than when you can see it coming. You can ease into it. You can have a conversation about what's troubling, what can be worked on, what can be improved upon. Again, it's negotiation. It's never going to be 100% in your corner, but if you walk into it knowing what you absolutely can't do and what you can do, and finding that middle ground, that's probably the best way to manage it.
Is there somebody, Leanne, that really embodies what it looked like that you learned from around like setting those boundaries so that it didn't come out in one fell swoop?
Mm-hmm. I can't say that I'm 100% perfect all the time in that realm. I'm probably not even 70% perfect, but I think it's just, for your own mental health. I think that everybody knows, over the course of their life, and as you get older, your breaking points, your buttons, what overwhelms you, what doesn't. For me, it's always keeping in mind, I don't want to be so overwhelmed that I just, explode one day. That's not what I'm trying to do. And I think that's a personal journey in a lot of ways. It's learning a lot about yourself personally to really get through it, and managing it appropriately. And again, if you're fortunate enough to have the advisors in your life who can guide you and lead you, reach out to people that you trust. Reach out to people and bounce ideas off of them. I mean, that's part of that information gathering process. It's no different in this particular instance. Find out what other people have done. Reach out to people who are going through the same things you are. They'll be able to guide you, and find people who are, younger than you, older than you, done different jobs than you. I think they can give you a lot of great insight.
And the continuous learning process.
It never stops. And we'd be bored if it did.
Exactly. Well, Leanne, with that, is there any, last thoughts you'd like to impart on just to celebrate International Women's Day, and to really champion the other women around you as well?
No, I'm so honored to be asked by you guys to do this, and I really hope that somebody watching it gets inspired to take that leap into something that they don't feel 100% confident in, and to grow a little bit more, and go women.
Oh, women. I love that.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thanks, guys.